I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
In Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at DPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And this is brought to you, of course, by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express! We saw the Flying Chicken logo in College Station.
We did.
There's a Chicken Express right off of 6 in College Station, and it's got the... I understand what they're doing, and their branding is very good, like the yellow and the red and stuff like that. But honestly, I think if they just put out... Let's put it this way. If they put out merch with just the Flying Chicken on it,
absolutely,
I would not be wearing the Swole B shirt.
No.
I'd be wearing this. I would have more
Swole
options.
Chicken shirt.
Yeah, the Flying Chicken shirt would be nails.
The Flying Chicken shirt would be pretty good. So Chicken Express, call me. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. A lot to get to. We're going to start in the Houston area with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise is, you guys are never going to believe this, but Spring Westfield has got a good player in the trenches. I for one am shocked. Spring Westfield's offensive guard, Raequan Bell, picked up an offer from Baylor this week. He already had a few in-state offers from places like Houston, North Texas, UTSA, an out-of-state offer from Colorado State. You saw him at the Next Level Athlete Top 100 Showcase in Houston, where he was the offensive line MVP, so I can't imagine you're particularly surprised that a program like Baylor is starting to catch on.
And I think he'll continue to add offers. What I really like about Raequan Bell's talents is that he is athletic enough at 6'2", 6'3", 290 pounds to be a left tackle, but has the power and downfield blocking ability to probably project more as a college guard. And I think he fits into these new, well, I guess they're not new anymore. Shouldn't say that anymore. Fits into college offenses because he's so athletic. When he slides inside, he can make downfield blocks. He's not a liability in pass protection. Kind of brings a little bit of everything to the table. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he could also center snap and be a good center down the line as well. Just a versatile guy who will probably play inside in college and continue to pick up a lot of momentum. One thing that I love about Spring Westfield, whether they're offensive or defensive linemen, they play with a chip on their shoulder, and that's a consistent trait that all these guys have. Baylor's going to be a big offer for him, but you can never discount the Houston Cougars when it comes to a talent from that particular high school.
Yeah, Spring Westfield, of course, no stranger to putting out big-time prospects, and here's a guy who is he's 2023, right? So he's going to be a senior this year, likely to be the anchor of that offensive line there at Westfield moving forward, but a guy to keep an eye on. And generally, what we've found, and one thing to keep an eye on is that if programs like, it feels to me that there's like these. This is going to sound disrespectful, but it sounds like there's a path of momentum in offers that the hipster guys, Jeff Traylor, right, and company, they offer you, and then a program like Baylor offers you, and they're like, well, here you go. Here's a P5 offer. Houston's a P5 offer in my mind, but here's a P5 offer, right? And then at that point, the floodgates start to open. It seems like we might be at that point.
I agree, and Baylor does a really good job to me of evaluating offensive line talent. The last two classes, particularly underneath of Dave Aranda's guidance there, I thought that they've done a really good job recruiting those positions, and so when they do extend an offer to an offensive lineman, I pay particularly close notice.
That's our prospect on the rise. Let's now matriculate over to our commit of the week.
Yeah.
And it is with a heavy heart that I announce that Texas Tech is at it again. Texas Tech picked up 3 commitments this week. Mansfield safety Brendan Jordan, Lubbock Trinity Christian athlete Marcus Ramon Edwards, and the guy that we're going to list as our commit of the week, Clarendon athlete Jamari Davis. Jamari Davis is a guy that I know he's one of those off-the-beaten-path type guys.
Right.
This feels like the quintessential Texas Tech under Joey McGuire commit. Small high school, big-time talent, that part of the world, and Texas Tech was able to close the deal and get the commitment from Jamari Davis.
Well, we talked a little bit more specifically about Brendan Jordan last week. He was our recruit of the week because he had announced a top 3, and we kind of went out on a limb and thought that Texas Tech was in a good position for him. But looking at the trio of commitments and just watching their tape, breaking this down, Jamari Davis looked really good on tape.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who is very athletic for a 6'2", 200-pounder. I think that he was the offensive MVP.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and then also earned all-district or all-state honors on defensive side of the football as well. So, I mean, he had a lot of accolades on both sides of the ball. I particularly like him as a defensive player, just kind of watching these highlights. Once he's able to settle in on one side of the ball, I think that his ceiling might be higher there. But certainly a guy who makes people miss in the open fields, big enough to run over you, and has the type of speed to completely dominate the level of competition that he plays against. So this was a huge pickup to me for Texas Tech, and a guy who I think will continue to command attention as the recruiting process plays itself out. This is a guy that other people want. Both Brennan Jordan and Jamari Davis are those type of guys. And, you know, just to talk a little bit about Marcus Ramon Edwards.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. This is a guy from Lubbock Trinity Christian, of course, and they're, you know, another seal the borders guy. If you got a great player in Lubbock, if you're at Texas Tech, you need to make sure you get him. This strikes me as what do you know about this kid? What stands out to about him?
Well, first and foremost, he's used predominantly on the offensive side of the football there, 6'4", 200 pounds, and he's been recruited to play defense at Texas Tech, a guy who will probably, I think, ultimately settle into that defensive end outside linebacker role. I mean, they even mentioned safety because he's so athletic, I think, as it relates to his recruitment. But I think at the end of the day, he's a guy who's going to bulk up and be in the box.
Yeah.
And pretty high ceiling player, too, because he is very athletic for a guy that's 6'4", 200, and you know, he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb on tape because he's dominating the competition. I think he went for close to 1,800 yards and 26 touchdowns to help lead his team to a state title appearance.
Yeah, a name to keep an eye on, maybe off your radar a little bit, but a savvy pickup there in Marcus Ramon Edwards. And one thing that I think is interesting, I've read a little bit about his story, and it sounds like that is a bit of a carryover from Joey McGuire and James Blanchard's days at Baylor. That they were hot on him at Baylor. They go over to Tech. They get to bring their books with them. You know what I mean? You know, they get to take it's an open note quiz, and so they were able to bring him over and get him to lock at Texas Tech. I imagine that being local certainly helps there as well.
One thing that's jumping out to me, and that staff there is making it apparently clear, is they're going to concentrate on recruiting West Texas. Yeah, and make it a priority, and they're able to try to keep some of these guys at home, and I think the more that you do that, the more successful you'll be long term. So, I mean, they're starting to put the roadmap down for what it's going to look like underneath of Joey McGuire and his staff there, and it looks like it's going to be a very heavy presence recruiting the Lone Star State, which is great.
Yeah, and I don't think necessarily any surprise. We're talking This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete, on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. Let's go to our Underclassmen of the Week. Our Underclassmen of the Week going out east to Dangerfield, where their soon-to-be junior cornerback, Aaron Hampton, has committed. He had offers from Baylor, TCU, Houston, Tech, etc. He has committed to Texas. He is a national recruit, a big get here for them. They call him Bubba out there in Dangerfield. Yeah,
I really like this one, and he picked up his first offer from TCU, I think, about the midway point through this last, the 2021 season, and I think it's his prowess on the defensive side of the football at cornerback that really started to open all these schools' eyes, especially as it relates to him. He's a national type of recruit at that position, very aggressive, great ball skills, but there at Dangerfield, he's a two-way star. He's a guy who also flips over and is very active on the offensive side of the ball. We saw him at the state 7-on-7 where his team was very good, and he was one of the key components within it. So this is a guy who brings it all the time, and another one of these guys who I don't naturally classify Dangerfield as a smaller school, but
yeah, it's weird. It's the problem is they put out so many big time recruits,
right?
Like they put out recruits the caliber of a 5A 6A program,
right?
But they are they're a 3A program.
Yeah, I think so. So I mean, but he's a big time talent at a 3A school, and I think that this is a big get for Texas. He was a one-time Baylor commit, so decommitted from the Bears and decided to stay at home and go with the Texas Longhorns after he picked up an offer from UT. So I think this is a quality get, and a quality get early. I mean, you're still talking about almost 2 full years before he'll put his name in ink on a letter of intent. So a lot of time to play out in this one. But Texas is a certainly in a great position here, gaining a non-binding verbal commitment.
Non-binding verbal commitment.
Yep, from Aaron Hampton, and gave a, he's told our guy Frazier, he's always been a Texas fan when he interviewed him earlier this year, and I think that is something that stuck out in this recruitment.
Let's round it all out with our recruit of the week. We're going to get real Denton Ryan heavy for the remainder of the show. Let's talk about Anthony Hill, the 2023 outside linebacker from Denton Ryan, a menace defensively, I think is a way to put it. He has announced a top 6. Those top 6: Alabama, Miami, Oklahoma, USC, and Texas A&M. This
Pretty
guy
good.
is, I think an undisputed 5-star, and certainly in that range of best prospect in the state in the class 2023, and a guy who I think is going to be a class maker for pretty much anybody.
Yeah, and there was a lot of different options I think we could have considered for recruit of the week, but when your natural 5-star, 6'3", 220-pound linebacker decides to announce his top 6, then I think that he, inherently wins out on that. And yeah, I think schools that I'm keeping a close eye on here, and this one's, let me tell you, this one's not over with, right? Like, a lot of times I look at these top 6 lists and I think, you know what, he's announcing a top 6 because he knows where he wants to go.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. That happens a lot wherever they'll say, oh, I'm going to announce my top 3 or top 5 or whatever, because I have a pretty good idea of where I'm actually going to sign, and now it's time to, push this process forward.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a natural kind of order of things, and for a guy like him, another part of it is, let's be real. If he wanted 130 FBS offers, he could have 130 FBS offers, right? He can have an offer from Bowling Green. Like, he just has to call them and say, hey, can I have an offer? You know what I mean? By narrowing it down, I think people may not necessarily recognize or remember that by narrowing it down and saying, well, I'm going to get to a top 6, you do kind of, people aren't going to stop calling you, but they might stop calling you as frequently as they otherwise would. And so he's going to be able to maybe take a closer eye to all 6 of these programs and figure out what's going to be the best fit for him. I know that pretty much any of these programs would be thrilled to have him. I'll say that much.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you're a 5-star type of guy, too, and you have all these offers, it's not a terrible idea to start to limit the media attention that's on you. So now he's going to have 6 programs reporters trying to get a hold of him every day versus 30. So that will hopefully help him limit his focus towards a certain set of schools, and then be able to put a lot of concentration onto his senior season for a Billy Ryan team that's going to have a ton of talent coming back next year and be poised, I think, to make a state championship run. We'll hear more from Coach Hennigan on his thoughts on that a little bit here in a minute. But
he just out-segued you.
What pro?
I think that he is the leader on a defense that has a good shot at winning a state title in 2022.
I tend to agree with you. He's Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter.
Accept your defeat.
Next Level. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing. I've been out segued. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout, Next Level Athlete D1, and see his final work, TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, appreciate your time. We will do it again next week.
See y'all then.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.